On today's episode of the SPMA Council podcast, it's that time of year again as we kick off our season 3 finale. As mentioned before on our story, this is going to be a 3-part finale, and obviously this is part 1 of the 3-part finale. We had a panel of 3 sport management students all graduating this year: Nat Hamel, Jake Matthews, and Matt Rose. All 3 of them came on to share their stories, share some great memories from their time in the Brock Sport Management Program, and advice to listeners as well. This was a great episode, a great well-paced conversation that has a little bit of everything, and definitely anyone who's listening to this can take at least 1 or 2 pieces of information with them, because I tell you, the conversation was extremely valuable to be a part of, and I hope you think that too. Jackson Pretley, our social media manager, was our co-host this year. Huge shout out to Jackson for his work this year on social. Never mind the fact that he's managing both our Instagram and TikTok accounts, which is a huge task in itself. He's been there creating content almost every single week throughout this year, trying to make the SPMA Council podcast brand an appealing and entertaining one. So Jackson, I just want to give you a huge shout out because the work that you do on social does not go unnoticed. So thank you so much. But without further ado, I'm not going to spoil anything more because again, it's a great conversation that you really should tune into, and I hope you do. But without further ado, let's head over to part 1 of the finale. This is the SPMA Council podcast. How's it going, everyone? Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. You know what time it is. I invite you to pull up a chair, sit back and relax, and welcome you to the season finale, part 1 of the SPMA Council podcast. We are kicking it old school, one take. Everyone knows the rules. I'm your host, William Ord, and co-hosting alongside me is our social media manager, Jackson Pretley. Jackson, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great today, Will. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm excited to host this season finale with this panel here. If you don't know how the season finale works, it's we bring on a bunch of graduating 4th year SPMA students. This year I fall into that category, so I'm feeling pretty old right now. Good God. But we're going to bring them on, and they share some stories from the program, advice, and overall just an entertaining way to finish off the season. So without further ado, let's introduce the panel. What I'm going to get you guys to do is mention your hometown, a career goal, and if you have one, maybe like a random fun fact about yourself. So let's start it off with Nat.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm the SPMA Council president. That's my fun fact. I'm from Burlington. Career plans, I like to say somewhere in athlete management, but in all honesty, I have zero idea.
Not a problem. Not a problem. A lot of people are a lot of people don't have much idea what we're gonna do after the program, but we just figure it out. Just the way she goes. Let's send over to Matt.
Hi guys, I'm Matthew. My fun fact goes with my hometown and the fact that my parents were both military, so I don't really have a hometown. I've never lived anywhere longer than 5 years, and for career goals, I'd like to end up working in-house legal counsel for a sports organization.
And another fun fact is that you're going to be a double badger. Attending the University of Wisconsin, is it? Not a big deal?
It's true. The rumor's out. I don't know if my agent leaked it or who did it, but yeah, the rumor's out. Very excited. Very much looking forward to it.
My sources are trustworthy then. Good to know. Last but not least, let's go over to Jake.
Hey everyone, I'm Jake. I'm from Brampton, Ontario. Fun fact, I've gone a hole-in-one in golf before.
Not a big deal.
And career, I'd like to work in hockey or golf, but honestly, I'd take whatever. I'm not too picky.
To be honest, if you've got a hole-in-one in golf, you've accomplished life right there, bud.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
I've been trying all my life, and I'm still trying to figure out how to hit the green on a par 3. So there's that. Let's move on to the de facto first word of the SPMA Council podcast, as per usual. And anyone can take this question. But what mindset have you adopted to forge a successful tenure at Brock University?
I can hop in with this one first. I like to think that I fostered a positive mindset, but also a growth mindset. So just being open to new experiences, believing in myself and putting myself out there to try new things and step outside my comfort zone. I think that's kind of what brought me to be able to grow so much personally and professionally throughout university.
Yeah, I'd kind of say I'm the same as Nat, just trying new things. There's so many things like I didn't think I'd like or didn't think I'd ever do and end up doing. And that's like pretty big part of my life or like part of school. So definitely not saying no to stuff because like you just never know what's gonna come with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two previous panelists are both kind of hit the nail on the head there and talking about, it's important to be open to new opportunities. I think a lot of the time, myself included, heading into SPMA, everybody kind of has that one goal, and for a lot of first-year SPMA students, it's to be the next Kyle Dubas. But I think throughout your years at SPMA, there's so many different experiences that come at you in a bunch of areas that going into sport management at Brock, you probably don't think of originally. Whether it's, I think first year might be 1P91. I think often a lot of students end up volunteering for the what is it? The charity marathon. I think that's run in Niagara Falls, but the name's escaping me right now. And I think a lot of people going into SPMA are thinking, okay, hockey, baseball, basketball, football, one of the top 4 sports. And I mean, there's a lot of opportunities in sports outside of those big 4 that usually get most of the attention. And I think, when it comes to being successful at Brock, having an open mindset. And also, I think Pat Reed put it best, actually, was talking about get comfortable being uncomfortable. Especially in a university setting, you're meeting a lot of people that you've never met for the first time, and being able to connect with your peers and more importantly with your professors is, I think, key to what makes for a successful university experience over the course of 4 years.
So then you guys talked about like taking experiences and like trying things. Then how are you guys able to go finding like areas in the sport business that you're passionate about and hopefully would like to pursue in your career?
I could start there. Definitely just like kind of maybe looking like if you're trying to find new experiences, maybe just like looking at different places and you don't think to check at first, and just things like that. Like asking people, like there could be, I remember my brother showed me this one website for a lot of job posting. I've like never even heard of it. It's a really good one for sports. So I think just asking around, definitely asking like TAs and professors, they would know best because there's so many, especially me, like I always thought I definitely just want to work in pro sport, but now I can absolutely see myself not working in pro sport. So I think just things like that.
I think too, if anyone who knows me knows my number one piece of advice to someone in first year, someone going into university, is get involved. It introduces you to so many new aspects of like the working world. Maybe even you get involved with organizations that have nothing to do with your career path. And it kind of opens a lot of doors. First of all, you meet people who you might not have met before, which could be good connections in the future when you're trying to get a job. But it also allows you to gain new experiences and explore different parts of the world without too much commitment. For example, like volunteering, even for a day, like Matt was talking about, or maybe it's like getting involved in a club and it's a year-long commitment, and it might be something that turns into something as long as your university career, but it kind of opens your eyes to different paths that you can go down.
Exactly. And, like I pretty much describes my summer job that I've had for the past 2 years. Nowhere near sports. It was like selling patio furniture of all things. But it was this like super intense sales and ecom role where I'm dealing with hundreds and hundreds of clients, purchasing orders that were like minimum like 1,500, max some people were spending like 6 or 7 grand. So if you're spending that much, I don't know why, but again, that's not my problem. But it just gave me that opportunity to to get some experiences outside of sport, broaden my mindset a bit to different things, different skill sets, and different situations. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think Jake and Natalie both made really, really good points. They're talking about networking and reaching out to resources. And certainly, although at times I think a lot of students at some point or another throughout their university career, myself included, sometimes feel like their profs are to fail them. At the end of the day, they're there to help you, as are the TAs. And I would even extend that to the upper year sport management students. I don't think, for any of the first or second years listening, or potentially even any prospective Badgers, I don't think you're ever going to run into an upper year sport management student who's going to turn you away if you're asking for help to get connected. I also think our experiential department within the sport management program is really, really good at bringing opportunities to the students to get involved, whether it's volunteer or summer jobs, or sometimes there's part-time in school year positions. But I mean, going back to that open-mindedness part, I mean, Will, you're talking about your experiences, working selling patio furniture earlier on during your university academic career. And my first summer job after my first year was I was the discipline administrator for a men's adult soccer league here in Ottawa. And I worked there full time for my first summer after my first year of SPMA. And anybody who knows me would be the first to tell you that I'm the furthest thing from a soccer person. I know the ball goes in the net. That's pretty much it. If you ask me what an offside is in soccer, I couldn't tell you. You ask me how do you get a yellow or a red card? I'd say, I don't know, bite somebody. I don't know. But again, going back to
Suarez, oh my God.
That's it. I'm pretty sure biting gets you a red card, but again, I'm not your guy. But going back to that open-mindedness part, I mean, if I had adopted that mindset of solely focusing on one specific sport to pursue and not allowing myself to feel out other opportunities, I wouldn't have had the benefit of working there. And oddly enough, I made a number of connections that summer working for that adult soccer league that led to further jobs in my other summers following the university academic year.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And then you guys have talked about volunteering, networking, all that type of stuff. So like outside of the classroom, what's the biggest like experience, whether it was a conversation, joining a club, job, volunteer experience that has helped you in professional development during your 4 years in SPMA?
That's a good question. I have one that's slightly related to both. So I am the event director with Motion Ball, which is a national not-for-profit, but we have a chapter at Brock. So I do a little bit of work outside of the school and then work inside of the school. And that has allowed me to meet other young professionals who are interested kind of in the sport business world as well, from universities all across Canada. And we just run events that support Special Olympic athletes. And so that not only is something to give back to my community, and not only my community, but within Ontario and even within Canada. And then it has also allowed me to make connections with young professionals who are my age from across Canada. And it gives back to people who are in need, especially during the pandemic. A lot of Special Olympic athletes have lost their programming. So for us, being able to host events online, whether it's a combination of universities putting on an event or just a specific university, we can kind of just support them.
And we don't, and we don't, and when it comes to sports, like it's sad, but we like if you're not really involved with Special Olympics, you really don't think about that until you really look inward and realize that these athletes don't have anything, right? And like, and you know, I was with you guys for last year, and you know, like we might get bored of online events. Let's face facts, but it really changes your perspective when you know you do something as simple as an online escape room on Google Forms. And I remember we had an Olympic athlete. We had a Special Olympic athlete. She recently got some sort of honor. What's her name? Test Trojan. Test Trojan. Yeah. So I just remember like she was so engaged. Like she was so into the game. She wanted to finish it as quick as possible to beat the other teams. She was constantly interacting with us, and you know it just brings you right back to earth as like getting like upset about an event online is nothing in comparison to what these athletes got to get through. So like I know from firsthand experience, to give back and to be a part of that organization, and especially now when you're able to have those in-person events, is a thing that you really cannot put into words.
I'll let you go if you want, Jake.
Okay, sure. So I definitely wouldn't say like the purpose to like volunteer would be to like get a job after, but definitely like having that mindset, like working hard while volunteering. Just because you're not getting paid doesn't mean to not work hard, because it could lead to a job. Like I did volunteered at the 28 Canadian Pro-Am, and just that led to a job in the 2019 Canadian Pro-Am. So just doing things like that, like always, even volunteering, like it could lead to like even a career. Just you never really know. So always just stay open-minded and always, give it your best, because you don't know who's watching.
No, and just to build off of Jake's points, like I even have like a quick story about that. So like the SPMA Council event, we just went to Bulldogs game, little networking thing. So me and my roommates signed up to volunteer at the outdoor game in Hamilton. So my two roommates got to clean the ice for the game. They had the time of their lives, and then they even got brought back for the playoff
Hold
game.
on, just back up 1 second. Don't tell me. Don't. Your roommates didn't drive the Zamboni.
No, they were with the shovels.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Thank God. Thank God.
I would never trust them to drive the Zamboni. No, they're out there with the shovels, telling all the players to get out of their way because they were on the clock. So like that's even like going back to Jake's point. You got to work hard even when you're not getting paid. They worked.
Where's
hard.
Where's the Hawaii 5-0 theme song when you need it?
Exactly. They were very tired on the way home, and like they got invited back for the playoffs. So like that's just, and then who knows where that's going to lead them to. And then they also got offered tickets to a game and a tour around the facility for their hard work. So you always got to be working hard, even if you're not getting paid.
Absolutely. No, I mean, those are great points. And, Jackson, to answer, your original question, what experiences most helped your growth throughout the sport management program? I'll be the first to tell you, Natalie probably laugh because she knows me well enough. I am not necessarily the most fond of bringing up the fact that I've, scouted for a junior A team since I was 15. Just because everybody in our program is obviously obsessed with Kyle Dubas, which, granted, obviously he's great alumnus. What's that?
Who'd you scout for?
The Wellington Dukes.
Are you kidding? How about that, eh? How about that? Nice. The old affiliate of the Bulls. Nice.
So I've been with them since, that was end of first year university, and prior to that I was with the junior A team in Kingston. But granted that experience started prior to Brock, but I would say, and I think it applies to volunteering as well. And I mean, I love being with Wellington and all that, but certainly, I think what the work that Natalie does with motion ball as well is probably a lot more enriching and a lot more meaningful than spending countless numbers of hours in a hockey rink, for sure. But I'd say, being in those volunteer type opportunities, whether it's scouting, whether it's working with motion ball, certainly Jake's brought up the point, volunteering sometimes leads to opportunities to get a job, but I would argue at the same time, there's so many life experiences gained out of it, especially while at Brock. Certainly we're learning a lot in the classroom with regards to theory, and we have the opportunity to put that in practice in volunteer settings. But at the same time, being able to partake in volunteer activities, regardless of what setting, is an opportunity to get back to your community, and at the same time develop life skills that are going to go on to help you along past your time in university, whether that's time management. I mean, in a regular year, I'm usually on the road 500-600 games a year across Ontario, Quebec, and the upper states, which is a lot of travel. And being able to learn how to manage that while managing academics has been challenging, but has taught me better time management skills than I'd say I had going into university. And then certainly being in that opportunity in that scenario, which you frequently are in any volunteer setting, to be able to socialize with other people and work on honing your networking skills and getting to know new people and growing your network is beneficial, because as we all know, and I think by this point in our 4th year, we're probably tired of hearing, it's not what you know, it's who you know that's going to help you advance your career. And certainly that rings true.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess so. Probably, I don't really consider the podcast just a volunteer position, but in the job description it is. So I guess let's count as that. But like I just volunteer opportunities that you just throw darts at. Like literally, this was just a dart thrown into thin air. Because I tell you, I remember, I'm going into the meeting, my first ever council meeting at the tail end of the first year, and our former and president of past, Ethan Crystal, he brought up that, oh yeah, I'm going to Louisiana State for the exchange. We have this new podcast thing, and I need some help with it because I'll be away from Canada for staff semester. And here's me. I don't even know a thing about podcasting, editing, hosting, or whatnot. I don't even know the guy. So the meeting ends. I come up to him. I says, I shake his hand. I says to him, nice to meet you. If you need help with the podcast, I'd like to help. And he said sure, and that's how it started, on a whim. Was I perfect the first few episodes? Hell no. But it's insane as to what a simple shot in the dark and a yes will do to you as I look back all these years later.
So, I mean, Matt, I'll let you answer this question first, since like you talked about like how your time your organization skills got better coming in. So if you could go back to first year and tell your first year self something, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if I had to go back to first year and tell my first year self something else to help me get through 4 years of sport management, I think first of all, as we've kind of alluded to throughout this entire conversation thus far, is open-mindedness, I think, is huge. I think you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're not keeping as many doors open as possible for your future. If you had told me in first year that I was going to end up going to law school, I probably would have laughed at you and told you were crazy. And here we are after going through a month and a half of being crazy applying. I would say, the first and foremost is open-mindedness and keeping every door open. I would say the second and third things would be patience and understanding. Certainly it's an adjustment from high school to university, as I'm sure the first years can attest to already this year. And certainly the 4th years at this point, look back in first year, it's some long nights studying for exams and staying up till 3 a.m. to finish off essays that you probably should have done a couple weeks earlier.
We've been there. We've all been there.
What's that?
We've all been there. We've all been there.
Oh yeah, we're not proud of it, but we've all been there. But I think, the other thing too is, when we're talking about our profs, and I made a joke earlier, a lot of us are quick to think our profs are out to fail us. I think certainly, there's going to be situations throughout university, it's inevitable, where you feel like you're doing your best work and maybe you're not seeing the results that you'd expect. And sometimes it seems like your profs are being hard on you. I think if I were to go back to first year, I think I would have had a much less stressful time if I had taken the opportunity to take a step back, put myself in my professor's shoes, and understand that they have my best intentions at heart. And even though it might seem like they're putting in place some absolutely ridiculous standard, or their grading's ridiculously hard, I think in the long run, in 5 to 6 years, especially for us 4th years this year, I think we're going to look back at our profs and thank them for a lot of the things that they taught us and a lot of things that they did for us.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think for me, if I were to go back in first year, like I mentioned earlier, definitely get involved and network. I'm often not good at putting myself into situations where I have to be social. I'm a little bit more introverted, but building connections with faculty, even other students and alumni throughout my time at university has been useful. But I don't think I really fully took that step until my third year, where I realized how important that it is as I get ready to leave Brock and start to go in other directions in the future. So taking that step from first year, you hear it from your profs, get involved and network, but it usually takes us a little bit to start listening. And then when we get to third or fourth year and we start to take the advice and realize its importance, I think we wish we could all go back and take that step. So I would just do that earlier.
Yeah, mine is kind of pretty similar. Like, definitely talk to like professors, TAs, and everything, but I really know the importance of like talking to alumni in the upper years, even if it's just like asking a message on LinkedIn or emailing them just to pick their mind about something. They like generally enjoy talking about it and like can keep the conversation going. So even if they haven't gone to Brock, just seeing someone at something like at a job or anything volunteering, just asking and doing anything, you never know what it can lead to, and they can give you like some good experience that can help back in school as well while doing an assignment or anything like that.
To be honest, for me, it's I would say again, patience is a virtue. For God's sake, I probably spent a bit too much of first year stressing out. It's like, oh God, where am I gonna end up? I don't even and you know, when I look back at it, it's like you haven't even been through been through 25% of the program, for God's sakes. Like, there's so much opportunity for you to grow. There's so much opportunity for you to learn, take risks, throw random darts at a proverbial dartboard, and latch onto something that you may not know a thing about. It's just about patience, because my God, this industry can be brutal with it, you know, especially when they're sending in job application after job application, and you know, maybe you don't get the ideal summer job one year. Okay, well, if you get a job that maybe isn't ideal, how are you going to maximize that experience, right? And knowing that, you know, those experiences will collect, and they'll hopefully in some form pay off for you in the long run, which is, you know, which really is, I think a key thing. I don't know if that's anyone can add in. I don't know if me thinking that's just me or not. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that's not just you. I mean, you talked about taking risks. I'm just finishing my second year, and like that would, if I could go tell my first year self something, would be to take some risks. Like applying for SPMA council in my first year, I was a little like nervous about it. I'm like, do I have time for this? Do I really want to do this? But like, I have no regrets from doing this. I love my 2 years on SPMA council so far. And I mean, I believe it was for 1P92 first year, we had to do an interview with a sport industry professional, and mine told me, say yes more than you say no in the sport industry, because you're going to take opportunities, you're going to take risks. You have to take these risks to see if it's going to pay off. So that would be, well, I know exactly how you feel when it comes to this.
Oh, geez, good thing you said yes to this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be killing the game on social media.
Exactly.
By the way, follow us on TikTok and Instagram at SPMA Council Podcast. Shameless plug. There's great content there. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Just thought I'd throw it in there. Just to boost
Always do.
the follower account before I go. Please and thank you. Well, you know what? Look it. This has been a jam-packed conversation with a lot of information from this panel about their journey in the Brock Sport Management program. And I don't think you'll find, I don't think you can go wrong wherever you tune in to this episode, because there should be something that you can take and add to your knowledge and somehow benefit from. But as is tradition at the SPMA Council podcast, we like to give the guests the last words, to share their final thoughts about, I guess, their time about, well, in this instance, their time in the program, or if it's not that, maybe some things that they forgot to mention, or if it's not that, maybe just an excuse to shoot the breeze a little while longer. So anyone can start this, but Nat, Matt, and Jake, the floor is yours.
I think just some final thoughts I had when you guys were talking about taking risks is also believe in yourself when you take those risks. I found myself taking risks throughout my university career. And then when I ended up in a situation or in a role that I put myself out there for, I ended up questioning if I was, the right candidate for that role, or if I was good enough to complete the task. And if you got yourself there, you worked hard and you earned it, you are more than capable of doing that task. And so definitely take the risk, but then believe in yourself once you're there. And then thanks for having me on the pod. Love to be back.
I'd probably say just like really enjoyed my time at Brock and just use like all the resources you possibly can. You're only here for 4 years and it's very like unique, special program. So using all the resources that you can to like optimize your experience will definitely help in the long run, because there's not many schools that have a program like that. And like what Nat said, yeah, just believe in yourself. May not get the job the first time or never know what you'd like. Like I never thought I'd be on the podcast. This is my 3rd time now. So you just never know what you would enjoy. So
Guy's a veteran. Guy's
Yeah.
an absolute veteran. Look at this.
That's awesome. No, to wrap up, Jake and Nat's points, I think always be your biggest advocate. I'm sure it's a huge cliche, but you're never going to know unless you try. Certainly there are so many opportunities ahead of you at Brock. And I think especially in light of the past 2-ish years now, I think we're on with the pandemic. I think I speak for us all when I say take every day you're at Brock for granted. You never know if we're going to have another global pandemic pop upon us, or if we're on the 15th wave or whatever number we're on now. But I mean, I very much enjoyed my time at Brock. I have absolutely no regrets. Thinking back to first year, I remember rolling my eyes when a lot of people said your 4 years here are going to fly right by. It's 100% true. Anybody sitting in first year right now thinking, I got 3 years ahead of me. I got all the time in the world. It seems like that in first year, but you'll quickly realize how fast the years go by. If I had last minute of advice for anyone, I would say, particularly from my perspective, I love learning almost to the point where it annoys my friends. But, I think every person you meet, regardless of if it's a professor, a peer, a colleague, an alumni, a current sport and industry professional, someone not in sports, I think there's something that you can learn from everybody. Again, tying into the open-mindedness, which probably sounds a little bit repetitive at this point. I think anytime you have an interaction with anybody, make sure that you are presenting yourself well. I mean, you never know how they're going to pop up in the future. And certainly, I don't know who said it, but I'll attach the quote to my name today. I'll take credit for that. Is take something good from everybody you meet and apply it to your own life. And then last of all, thank you, Will and Jackson, for having me on the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure. I've admired the work you guys have done over the past year. Will, it's been 3 years now. I think you've been on the podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 3.
Yeah, so congratulations on that. It's been one heck of a run. And then also, I think Natalie deserves a shout out. I don't know if she's gotten shout outs on previous podcasts, and maybe I'll give her the plug here. But, first of all, in a very successful 2 years as SPMA Council President, especially battling the pandemic, I don't think anybody could have taken on a harder role with the council. And second of all, I know our program is very male dominated, and for as much as we talk about our program being great, I can't imagine what it's like to be in one of the female students in the sport management program steps where it's predominantly male dominated. So I do want to give a shout out to Natalie for that as well. Because, first of all, it's tough being SPMA Council President, but second of all, I can't imagine what it's like to, be in that footstep where the majority of the program is dominated by males. So that's all for me, but thank you guys.
And with that, that does it for part 1 of the SPMA Council podcast. We're not done the season finale. Yet, folks. Remember, this is a 3-parter. Part 2 is going to be released next week, so stay tuned for that because it's going to be as great as part 1 was. But until then, we say thank you for listening. Stay classy, and we'll see you guys soon. Cheers, everyone.